You are going to talk to us about Outer Range. Outer Range, starring Josh Brolin as a grizzled cowboy, and I think we can guarantee that in this particular TV show presentation, we are not going to hear one word of somebody beaten to death somebody else with a sex toy.
I had to think then because there's all sorts of random things going on in that. Not that thing. Yeah, how do I describe Outer Range without going into spoiler territory? So I'll start off with what I think is safe. It's set in modern day North America. I don't remember it's in Northwest America, where rolling mountains and prairies, where there's an indigenous population, and then there's the settlers who became sort of the big ranchers. And this particular region is dominated by two major landholders. There's the Abbots and their neighbours, who literally have been there since the land was settled, as it's called. So the ranch has been there for 150 odd years, which is a long time in American West. And on on the Abbott land, which is owned by Josh Brolin and his family, there's this mysterious, basically it's just a hole, but it's just not a normal hole because you can't see through it or down it. It sort of has like an iridescent almost film on it, but it's not liquid. It's just like, it just moves.
Yeah.
So it looks bottomless. It's just this void. You look into this void, you don't see anything below it. And things that get thrown into the hole have a habit of reappearing, but somewhere else.
Ooh.
And not just somewhere else physically, but somewhere else in time as well.
Oh.
And so this hole is like a symbol of the fact that something strange is going on sort of temporarily in this ranch, and that things aren't quite what they seem. And so you have a cast of characters, and you're never quite sure basically where they stand in time or where they stand in reality. Everyone appears to be all sort of perfectly normal, but then every now and then you suddenly think there's something not right. And so it does play around with the idea of maybe time not necessarily being linear in this particular place. And there's some strange events, like basically there's a bison, or an North American buffalo, that keeps appearing at different points, sort of symbolically, at different points in the drama. And it's noticeable about this particular bison is that it's got two arrows in its side. And these arrows are obviously old, they're fletched, eagle feathers, and they've got what looks like it's a flint arrowhead at the top of it. And this bison, with these two arrows sat in its side, just randomly is like wandering the range, and you're never quite sure if it's someone's been using it as target practice or whether this bison is somehow just out of time.
Yeah.
And so the story that's the sort of the overarching thing. It's like there's something going on in this ranch that we don't really quite know, and then it does a bit more gets revealed as the drama gets on. But basically, Josh Brolin's character his name is Abbott. He lived with his wife, his two sons, and his granddaughter. And his daughter-in-law mysteriously disappeared about a year before. And everyone's been investigating her disappearance, whether it's a missing person, whether she was kidnapped, or whether she's been murdered and they've hidden her body.
Okay.
So there's this mystery that has been like plaguing the family. So all of the members of the family are like in different ways reacting to this disappearance. And they have a rivalry with the next door neighbour, who's Will Patton is like the patriarch of that family, and he's got like three really sort of weird sons. And without giving too many spoilers, during the first episode, one of those sons gets killed in a fight.
Oh.
And this one event sends ripples through the rest of the series, as in either, because of the nature of the fight, they conceal it, and then things become revealed that maybe should have kept secret.
Okay, I've cracked it, Sharon. The son who gets killed is the bison.
Bison. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not a story that you can just tell as linear, because it's not. It plays with time, it plays with your comprehension, it plays with different people turn up and you're not quite sure they're significant, but you don't know quite why.
Okay,
And
okay.
then there's like the sheriff is a Native American woman who's living with her female partner and her daughter, who's investigating this the death of one of the sons. And again, they're like almost like out of time, but you never quite know what.
I'll tell you what, Sharon. Like this is turning out to be a much more interesting show than I thought it was, because I saw the poster, and the poster, or the banner rather, on and you saw Josh Brolin, and it looks like, oh, Josh Brolin's doing his grizzled cowboy thing. It's kind of like, and there's like this signal in the sky above him, and you're like, okay, maybe they're mixing it up a bit. But I thought this would be a lot more straightforward than you mentioned, because even what you were saying, I was like, what, you mean this was set in old times? Because I didn't pick that up at all. But then again,
in modern day America, but it does. But there are links to obviously the past, and then you find out exactly what those links are, and later on in the show.
Okay.
And people have said, one of the characters who stalks the sheriff says, I came across a megalodon in a cave once, and then I go, we're thinking he's obviously delusional. But then as the thing goes on, you're thinking maybe he did see a megalodon. Because strange things do happen, and you see things, you're thinking, because when you're watching it, you're not sure whether if what's real and what's not real, and what's in time, or that you leave. That's one of its strengths, and it's what makes it quite confusing and frustrating as a viewer.
Okay.
Because sometimes you just don't know what's going on, and you're thinking there's a lot of rich symbolism here, and I'm probably not reading it as much as the filmmaker intended, because it's one of those things you probably need to go back and see if you picked up on any clues that you might have missed on the first viewing.
All right. Okay, so two questions. Yeah. Oh, no, rather two things anyway. It's funny, but nowadays, whenever anybody says the word megalodon, I immediately imagine that in Jason Statham's voice. It's a megalodon.
I mean, I'm the same. Wait,
said megalodon. I was like, what? Jason? No, you did not say Jason Statham was in this. You just said the word megalodon. That's it. Okay, number two, because it sounds like the kind of thing that we can't talk that much more about before ruining totally. Because what you said now has made me go, ooh, maybe I should go see this. This is a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. A lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. What did you think of it, and how many stars did you give it?
Yes, I enjoyed it, but again, I feel like you need to quite focus on it, because I'm sure it's riddled with hints and clues that you just miss. And sometimes I got really quite frustrated with it, thinking, I can't get to grips with this. But it was intriguing, certainly well made. Some of the characters are just completely off their tree, so you don't know whether that. So there's lots going on. So I thought it was going to be like a sort of Western science fiction type thing. It's not. There's much more to it than that.
Okay.
So I thought it's really good, but frustratingly so, and because it didn't answer all the questions by the end of it. So the whole series ends, and you're going, well, I still don't know what's going on in certain aspects.
Oh, right.
So,
how many episodes are there? Sorry. How many episodes are there?
8 episodes.
8
so
episodes.
Because it is so good, it's one of those ones I think you probably have to revisit. I would be inclined to give it a 4.
Okay.
Because I think it's strong, and I think it's there are moments where you just go, but I think it probably, as time goes on, I just hope they don't overdo it, and then with like season 3 and 4, you suddenly go, you had all this promise.